Sarah sat in the dimly lit archive room, surrounded by stacks of ancient documents and flickering holographic displays. The room was quiet, except for the occasional hum of the climate control system. She adjusted her glasses and leaned closer to a particularly worn-out document, its edges frayed from centuries of handling. The last war humanity had fought was a distant memory, but its shadows still lingered in the collective consciousness. Sarah had always been fascinated by this period, the tipping point that led to the birth of the Guardians of Unity. As a historian, she felt a duty to understand it, to piece together the fragments of the past and uncover the truths that shaped the present. Her eyes skimmed over the document detailing the final days of the war. The devastation was unimaginable. Cities reduced to rubble, millions of lives lost, and entire ecosystems destroyed. Yet amid the horror, there were glimmers of hope. Stories of individuals who rose above the chaos, striving to make a difference. Sarah paused to sip her coffee, her mind drifting to her great-grandmother, who had lived through those dark times. She remembered the stories of resilience and sacrifice, of people coming together to rebuild a shattered world. It was this spirit that had given birth to the Guardians of Unity, an organization dedicated to ensuring such a catastrophe would never happen again. Intrigued, Sarah pulled up an old video interview with one of the founding members of the Guardians. The elderly woman's voice crackled through the speakers, recounting the desperate efforts to broker peace amidst the carnage. "We had no choice," she said, her eyes reflecting the weight of those memories. "War had taken everything from us. We had to find another way." The Guardians of Unity had started as a small group of like-minded individuals, but their influence quickly grew. They were not just peacekeepers, but visionaries, promoting education, empathy, and cooperation as the foundations of a new world order. Their innovative conflict resolution methods became the gold standard, their success stories spreading hope across the globe. Sarah leaned back in her chair, contemplating the enormity of their achievement. The Guardians had managed to change the very fabric of human society, making war a relic of the past. But as she delved deeper into her research, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Unseen challenges and unsung heroes who had played crucial roles. Her research took her to the diaries of soldiers, letters from civilians, and records of clandestine meetings where critical decisions were made. Each piece of the puzzle revealed a new layer of complexity. The path to peace had been fraught with difficulties, but it was the unwavering commitment of individuals, ordinary and extraordinary alike, that had made it possible. As the hours slipped by, Sarah felt a growing connection to these historical figures. They were more than just names in a book. They were people who had dared to dream of a better future and had worked tirelessly to achieve it. Inspired by their legacy, Sarah made a silent vow to honor their memory by continuing their work, by ensuring that the lessons of the past were never forgotten. She closed the last document of the day and stretched, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. There was still so much to learn, so many stories to uncover. But for now, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the peace she enjoyed and a renewed determination to protect it. Sarah adjusted her notes and prepared for her first interview with a member of the Guardians of Unity. She had managed to secure a meeting with Marcus Hale, a senior Guardian known for his diplomatic prowess. As she entered the sleek, modern headquarters of the Guardians, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The building itself was a testament to human ingenuity and the desire for peace, with its transparent walls and open spaces symbolizing transparency and collaboration. Marcus greeted her warmly, his smile genuine and his handshake firm. "Welcome, Sarah. I'm glad you're taking an interest in our work." "Thank you for meeting with me," Sarah replied, setting up her recording device. "I'm eager to learn more about the Guardian's mission and methods." Marcus nodded, leaning back in his chair. "Our mission is simple yet profound, to prevent conflict and promote peace. We achieve this through a combination of diplomacy, education, and technological innovation." Sarah leaned forward, intrigued. "Can you tell me more about the diplomatic efforts? How do you handle situations that could potentially escalate into conflict?" "Absolutely," Marcus said. "We believe in proactive diplomacy. We have teams that monitor global events and tensions, and we intervene early before things can escalate. Communication is key. We bring conflicting parties to the table, facilitate dialogue, and help them find common ground. He paused, his expression thoughtful. But it's not just about resolving conflicts. It's about understanding and addressing the root causes. That's where education comes in. We work with communities to promote cultural understanding and empathy. We believe that if people understand each other better, they're less likely to resort to violence. Sarah jotted down notes, impressed by the comprehensive approach. And the technological innovations, how do they play a role? Marcus's eyes lit up. We leverage technology to enhance our efforts. For instance, we use advanced AI to predict potential conflicts and offer solutions. We also employ virtual reality for empathy training, allowing people to experience different perspectives firsthand. It's a powerful tool for fostering understanding and compassion. As the interview continued, Sarah learned about various success stories where the Guardians had prevented conflicts and brought about lasting peace. One such story involved a long-standing territorial dispute between two nations. The Guardians had facilitated months of negotiations, ultimately helping the parties reach a mutually beneficial agreement. Marcus shared how the process had involved not just political leaders, but also community representatives, ensuring that the solution was inclusive and sustainable. Inspired by Marcus's stories, Sarah sought out other members of the Guardians for further insights. She spoke with Dr. Lena Kim, a psychologist who specialized in conflict resolution. Lena emphasized the importance of addressing trauma and psychological wounds in post-conflict societies. Healing is a crucial part of peace building, she explained. Without it, old grievances can resurface and lead to new conflicts. Next, Sarah met with Javier Torres, a young engineer working on a project to develop sustainable resources for conflict-prone regions. Economic stability is vital for peace, Javier said. If people have access to resources and opportunities, they're less likely to engage in conflicts. We're working on innovative ways to ensure that even the most vulnerable communities can thrive. Through these conversations, Sarah gained a deep appreciation for the Guardians' multifaceted approach. Their work was not just about preventing wars, but about building a world where the conditions for peace were embedded in every aspect of society. It was a holistic vision that required the dedication and cooperation of individuals from all walks of life. As she wrapped up her interviews, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. The Guardians of Unity were more than just peacekeepers. They were builders of a better future, and she was determined to tell their story, to share their vision with the world. Late one evening, Sarah was poring over the last of her notes in her small apartment. The interviews with the Guardians of Unity had given her a wealth of material, but she felt there was something still missing, a hidden layer to the story that she needed to uncover. As she organized her thoughts, her holopad chimed with a new message. It was from an anonymous sender, marked urgent. Curiosity piqued, Sarah opened the message. It contained a series of encrypted files and a brief note. For the truth behind the peace, look deeper, trust no one. Sarah's heart raced as she began decrypting the files. They contained classified reports and internal communications within the Guardians of Unity. What she found shocked her. A faction within humanity, calling themselves the Resurgence, was plotting to destabilize the current peace for their gain. They aimed to exploit old rivalries and create new conflicts to amass power and wealth. Sarah sat back, stunned. The Guardians had achieved so much, but there were still those who would tear it all down for selfish reasons. The files detailed the Resurgence plans, including bribing officials, spreading disinformation, and inciting violence in key regions. It was a meticulous, well-orchestrated conspiracy. Sarah knew she had to act quickly, but she was faced with a daunting decision. If she went public with this information, it could cause widespread panic and distrust, potentially playing into the Resurgence's hands. But doing nothing was not an option either. She needed allies, trusted ones. The next morning, she contacted Marcus Hale and arranged an urgent meeting at a discreet location. They met in a quiet park, away from prying eyes. Marcus listened intently as Sarah explained what she had discovered, showing him the decrypted files. "This is serious," Marcus said, his face grim. "We suspected there were elements trying to undermine our efforts, but we had no idea it was this extensive." "We need to stop them," Sarah said. determination in her voice. "But we have to do it without causing chaos. If people lose faith in the Guardians, it could make things even worse." Marcus agreed and suggested they involve only a select few within the Guardians, those they knew they could trust implicitly. They formed a small task force, including Dr. Lena Kim and Javier Torres, who had proven their dedication to peace. The group began devising a plan to expose the resurgence leaders and dismantle their network. Using the Guardians' resources, they tracked the resurgence activities and gathered concrete evidence. They worked tirelessly, often in secret, to counteract the disinformation and prevent any violent outbreaks. It was a delicate balance, requiring precision and discretion. One night, Sarah and Marcus infiltrated a high-level meeting of the resurgence, using advanced cloaking technology to remain undetected. They recorded the conspirators discussing their plans and managed to secure critical evidence. As they slipped out of the meeting, they knew they had what they needed to bring the resurgence down. Back at the Guardians' headquarters, the task force compiled their findings and prepared to go public. They planned a carefully orchestrated release of information, ensuring that it was done in a way that would maintain public trust in the Guardians while exposing the resurgence treachery. When the day came, Sarah stood beside Marcus as they addressed the world. They revealed the conspiracy and presented the evidence, urging unity and vigilance against those who would seek to sow discord. The response was overwhelmingly supportive. People rallied behind the Guardians, condemning the resurgence and reaffirming their commitment to peace. In the weeks that followed, the Guardians worked with international authorities to arrest the resurgence leaders and dismantle their operations. It was a significant victory, but it also served as a stark reminder that the quest for peace required constant vigilance and effort. Sarah reflected on the journey, grateful for the allies she had found and the strength they had shown. The Guardians' legacy was secure, but their work was far from over. She knew that, like those who had come before her, she would continue to strive for a world where peace was not just a fleeting dream, but a lasting reality. Sarah and the Guardians' task force had succeeded in exposing and dismantling the resurgence, but the aftermath of the crisis was still unfolding. The world had been reminded of the fragility of peace, and the Guardians faced the challenge of rebuilding trust and reinforcing their mission. Sarah felt a deep sense of responsibility as she continued her work, determined to ensure that the lessons learned were not forgotten. She spent her days at the Guardians' headquarters, working closely with Marcus, Lena, and Javier to develop new initiatives. They focused on strengthening their early warning systems and expanding their educational programs to reach even the most remote and vulnerable communities. The goal was clear: to build a resilient society capable of resisting the allure of conflict. One afternoon, as Sarah reviewed a report on a successful mediation in a former conflict zone, Marcus approached her with a thoughtful expression. "There's something we need to discuss," he said, leading her to a quiet corner of the office. Marcus handed her a small, unmarked file. "We've been receiving reports of a new movement. They call themselves the Architects of Peace. Their methods are unconventional, but they've been effective in resolving local disputes and promoting cooperation." Sarah flipped through the file, intrigued. The Architects of Peace seemed to operate independently, using grassroots tactics to bring people together. They employed art, music, and storytelling to bridge divides and foster understanding. "This is fascinating," she said. "Their approach aligns with our values but reaches people in a different way." "We've been considering a partnership," Marcus continued. "Combining our resources with their methods could create a powerful synergy. But we need to be careful. We don't want to undermine their grassroots nature or appear as though we're trying to control them." Sarah agreed and suggested they meet with the leaders of the Architects of Peace to discuss a potential collaboration. A week later, Sarah, Marcus, Lena, and Javier traveled to a small village where the architects had set up a temporary camp. The meeting was unlike any diplomatic session Sarah had ever attended. Instead of a formal conference room, they gathered in a colorful tent, decorated with murals and filled with the sound of live music. The leaders of the architects, a diverse group of individuals from various backgrounds, welcomed them warmly. Over the next few hours, they exchanged ideas and experiences. The architects shared stories of how they had resolved conflicts through community art projects and cultural festivals. Sarah and the Guardians explained their strategies and the resources they could offer. One of the architects, a young woman named Amara, spoke passionately about the importance of cultural identity in peace building. "People need to feel seen and heard," she said. "When we celebrate our differences and find common ground, we build stronger, more resilient communities." Inspired by Amara's words, Sarah proposed a pilot project to combine the Guardians' conflict resolution techniques with the architects' cultural initiatives. They decided to start in a region that had recently experienced tensions but had shown signs of recovery. The pilot project was a resounding success. Together, the Guardians and the architects organized a series of events that brought together people from different ethnic and cultural backgrounds. There were art exhibitions, musical performances, and storytelling sessions that highlighted shared histories and aspirations. The community responded with enthusiasm, and old animosities began to fade. Buoyed by this success, the partnership expanded to other regions, adapting the approach to suit local needs and contexts. Sarah saw firsthand the transformative power of combining the Guardians' structured methods with the architects' creative energy. It was a perfect example of how different perspectives and approaches could come together to create lasting change. As the months passed, Sarah reflected on the journey she had been on. From uncovering the dark history of the last war to confronting the resurgence conspiracy, and now building a new path to peace with the architects. It had been a challenging and often perilous journey, but it was one filled with hope and progress. One evening, as she sat on the balcony of her apartment looking out at the city skyline, Sarah felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The Guardians' work would never be finished, but they were not alone. With partners like the Architects of Peace and countless individuals committed to the cause, the future looked brighter than ever. Sarah smiled to herself, knowing that while the path to peace was never easy, it was always worth fighting for. And with each step, each story shared, and each hand extended in friendship, they were building a legacy of unity and understanding that would endure for generations to come.